A lot of issues we're working through right now in the Senate. Obviously, infrastructure is in conversation. What's going to happen with some of the spending, dealing with National Guard, Capitol Police. We're working a lot on issues like Afghan translators and trying to be able to get those folks that have walked alongside our soldiers for 20 years and have risked their lives out of harm's way before the Taliban slaughters them. We're engaged in a lot of different issues. There's also a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes, and I thought it might be helpful to be able to give a couple of things that I think we need to consider. One is what's happening in the State Department right now. The State Department engagement on the issues of passports is a major issue. It's a frustration for a lot of Americans, and I would tell you a lot of Oklahomans that we deal with on a day-to-day basis on our team are very frustrated with trying to get their passport renewed. Now, they didn't travel last year, obviously, with COVID, but now they want to be able to do some traveling in places where they can. Good luck, though, as we have found. Right now, the backlog at the State Department is about 18 weeks. Today, it's the 29th of July. That means if you turned in your application for your passport today, you may get your passport December the 2nd. Merry Christmas. If you plan on traveling Thanksgiving, you need to pay the extra fee to do an expedited delivery, though that we're at the end of July right now. The problem? The State Department still hasn't brought all of their staff back. They're still not engaging. The rest of the country is open and operating, and the State Department is still studying how they're going to come back in. And millions of Americans are just waiting for their passport. I've spoken to leadership in the administration about this exact issue. In fact, I've talked to some leadership that literally said to me, "Oh, I wasn't aware there was a problem." Listen, there's a problem. And it's not just in State Department, it's in multiple other agencies. As America opens back up, trying to be able to manage all the issues with COVID, very aware of masks and vaccines and spacing, but companies have figured out how to do this. So for some reason, multiple agencies are not. And it is causing real problems. And it's not just problems in our economy with permitting and other things. Some of the policies that have been put in place are causing real problems across our economy for just individuals. We have unemployment rate right now in June at 5.9%. And we don't know what it'll be for July, but it's getting better and better all the time. In Oklahoma, we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. We have a lot of people employed because we turned off the extra unemployment benefits at the end of June, and people came back to work. That's a good thing for them, for their families, for their kids, and for our economy. As we continue to be able to re-engage, that's helpful. But what we're seeing right now is inflation, consumer price increases like we've not seen in more than a decade. Consumer price index increased by 5.4%. That's the most in 13 years. So we're watching the rapid rise in prices that Americans feel. It's a direct result of this $2 trillion bill that was done in March, where it paid people not to work and sent checks to individuals and did lots of other benefits. Many people, even economists from the Obama administration, said, don't do this, it will cause inflation. What have we seen? In just the last 5 months, milk prices up, bread prices up, bacon prices up, price of gasoline up, price of wood up, price of building materials up, price of rental cars up, prices of used cars up, shortages in different supply chains. It's the things that we all identified in February and March and said we need to be attentive to, if you dump $2 trillion into the economy, what does that do? In the middle of this dialogue about inflation rising right now and everyone in America seeing the rising prices, there's a conversation about trillions of dollars more of spending. More of spending. What effect do you think that'll have? We've already seen the effect of what happened in March. What effect do you think it'll have to add another, as is being forecast, $3.5 trillion more spending? Now, sometimes we can't wrap our head around this issue of millions, billions, and trillions because it all just seems like numbers. But let me tell you, there's a big difference between millions, billions, and trillions. The best way that I can describe this is if you have 1 million seconds rather than $1 million. 1 million seconds is about 11 and a half weeks. It's a lot. But 1 billion seconds is 31 and a half years. That's a big difference. Brace yourself, because a billion seconds is 31.5 years, but a trillion seconds is 31,688 years. These are big numbers that are being thrown around. And it's hard to wrap our head around how much spending is really going on, but the concept of throwing out $3.5 trillion is mind-boggling. Let me give you one more. 1 trillion miles. If I were to say, how far is 1 trillion miles? 1 trillion miles is if you left Washington, D.C. today and flew to the planet Pluto 334 times. From D.C. to our farthest planet, 334 times. That's 1 trillion miles. This is a lot of money that's being thrown around. And it has real consequences, knowing the debt, in the borrowing, in the tax changes, but how much things actually cost. I'm continuing to be able to challenge my colleagues when they discuss all these big numbers and say, let's just throw all this money out there, it'll have no consequence, that I would tell you the people in Oklahoma feel what's going on. They may not know, but they feel it in the prices every day, what's going on in supply chains, and they're very aware. And the number one question that I get asked when I'm out and about places in Oklahoma is, where is all this money coming from? It's a fair question.